Empowered Educators, Teaching Policy Around the World, Chapter 1 by Magda Zietsman. I am so glad to present this chapter to you today. I thought it's fitting to just talk a little bit about the history in education. So my first slide is evolution of education across the world. Before the American Civil War, there was a primitive school system in place. Women worked outside, men were the teachers inside. Beecher and Mann rescued the women. They became the pioneer leaders in the current school system. The United States were the leaders and developed a model that set global benchmarks. Variations of American model was developed everywhere across the world. Unfortunately, the system started collapsing because the world was changing the 20th century. Graduates from less developed, poor countries were willing to work for much less. Jobs requiring basic skills in developed countries went to less developed countries. Automation also caused many basic jobs to disappear. These factors caused the blue-collar school model to collapse. A new model was needed. For most developed nations, what was considered applicable for only the elite students was now broadly and globally needed. A professional model was needed, and this model required knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. The professional model is required from the policies or government and in practices. The whole system is important and it fits together like a puzzle. Teaching policy around the world. Rich learning environment system in high-performing countries. We work with the teachers as well as the schools. The teachers, we need a rich education system for teachers, and you can look at the video link I've included about the Kranji Secondary School in Singapore. At Kranji Secondary School in Singapore, and this is one of the school systems that we can look at for to learn from. They have the following in place. They have Learn and Grow, that is professional development workshops. They also have skillful teacher workshops. That is where the senior teachers conduct a workshop or teach the younger incoming teachers. And then they have cluster learning at the Singapore Teachers Academy. That is where each school send their teachers to a place where they converse and gather and enjoy talking about what happens in their schools and what works and what does not work. Therefore, the schools is another component that of a rich environment, learning environment, not only for teachers, but also sharing of the expertise within and across schools is very important. So our main goal for the 21st century is that governments plan, develop, and implement a teaching and learning system to ensure a higher quality teaching. And we will talk more about that on one of the later slides. What kinds of policies affect teaching and teachers? That is important to look at. The first one is recruitment. When we recruit, we want to look at academic abilities of the teacher and the personal traits. Some people are just more prone to work with children at different ages or different age or grade levels. Teacher preparation, that includes the knowledge and the understanding of the education. Like I said earlier, I was at a school in South Africa, and that was my first few years of teaching. I was newly married, and this principal believed in preparation of lessons. I worked out 6 to 7 lessons a day, and in the kindergarten school I taught at, and I also had to show my knowledge and understanding of the curriculum. Induction and mentoring is where the new new teachers comes in. They learn from experienced teachers, and professional learning. Professional learning includes continuous professional development, teacher feedback and appraisal. It's the system to provide feedback to teachers. That is important, that it is a system that belongs to a specific time and place, and that it is a good system that will help that specific child or that specific group or that specific teacher. Career and leadership development, support individual growth and develop strong education leaders that might one day become administrators or principals. The school curriculum assessment and accountability systems, what teachers must teach and how students are learning. School funding strategies. That includes resources and the support for teachers. We need funds in school to provide resources and support the teachers in what they are teaching. School organization and scheduling, the time available that teachers have to collaborate and learn from each other, like I mentioned earlier. This is just a graphic, or let me phrase it like that. I am a very visual learner, so this helped me to understand how everything fits together and almost influence each other in high quality teaching. This is taken from Darling Hammond et al. 2017, and I quote, "These elements play out within a social and political context that shapes school conditions, support for children and families, and the design and implementation of policies." So it's important to know that we have a specific social and political context, and we also we use this to help the children and the families, and to bring everything together in an educational system. The jurisdictions for our study in this specific book, is Singapore, Finland, Australia, which includes the states of New South Wales and Victoria, Canada, those are the provinces of Alberta and Ontario, and China, that includes the province of Shanghai. Just interesting, before I go to the next slide, is the Australian flag includes all the colors from all these flags. I am a real visual learner. Okay, why study international teaching policy? Why do we study that? A strong teaching workforce results in a high-performing system, and a high-performing system then feeds into a strong and teaches and helps the strong teaching workforce, and it goes around and around. So high-performing systems have several features. The right skills and attributes, competitive salaries, that's very important in a high-performing system, might just mention to you that when I left the school where I stopped before I stopped to do my master's degree, my salary was 20,000 less per year than what it should have been after 35 years of teaching. So in the United States, the teachers don't have competitive salaries. And then that can compete with the rest of the world. And that was my experience. Integration of theory with practical skills and the access to high quality instruction. And usually at the schools that perform well, that gives high quality instruction, the teachers have access to financial grants that helps to support them to learn to teach better. High-performing school systems have several processes as well that includes school funding, additional instruction, health, and welfare support. Policy systems are also affected by a changing era. And that's why we have to study the international teaching policy, because it changes all the time. And the change in these jurisdictions or countries that are performing so well and are ahead in the educational system, they show us that they've included, they change the policies to as it changes year by year, as the environment changes year by year. Policy systems, and therefore we study international teaching policy. So the policy systems are also affected by a changing era through factors such as rapid technology changes. I quoted just an interesting factor that the University of Oxford researchers estimated that 47% of more than 700% of present-day occupation in the US economy is susceptible to be computerized. And just something interesting is to ponder on, that I want to say that you can ponder on, is technology really perhaps the cause for our school systems not to progress, or is it also the cause for regressing in the school system? But we'll talk about that a little bit more later. This quote was by Fry and Osborne, and in 2013. Another effect by the changing area is, or another effect is, highest paying jobs did not exist 10 years ago. The jobs that exist today might not exist in 10 years, but there are jobs like the study of pollution that is becoming a very, very, very high-paying job. The study of pollution and how it affects and sustainability. Growing international migration, people coming in and out of countries to study, also changes as time changes, and people and then there might be people in rural areas that have to go, or where the countries don't have the universities available that are available in America. They come to America to study. Changing skills needed. Teachers will need changing skills, must change their skills to be able to teach the students. An example that's very good is that I didn't grow up with computer and technology. That's an area that I had to grow a lot, and that I'm still growing a lot in. Innovations, new developments that comes as the world is changing. All these factors have an impact on how the teacher should be trained. But again, it is a cycle. It is a never-ending cycle. As the world changes, the teacher's skills, attitudes, their way of teaching, their instruction, how they are how they are taught to teach changes, and then the world change again. So they make an effect on the world and the new students that are taught, and when the world changes, there's a new cycle starting. And as Darling Hammond et al. In 2017 said, that is where the rubber hits the road. Why study these jurisdictions that I pointed out earlier? These jurisdictions developed excellent teaching and learning systems. There were good results both in excellent teaching quality as well as quantity. They helped the less developed or disadvantaged students, at least developed countries and the disadvantaged students. And they're an example for other countries. Also, that emphasized also types of higher order skills needed by modern societies. This is supported by data from international indicators, like we spoke, and we already start to know about the PISA tests, looking at the PISA test data, and the PISA test data is made possible by the OECD program. And these education systems in these countries, in these jurisdictions, include significant diversity in the following: in the linguistic area, cultural, racial, and ethnic. These also helped to improve equity among students from lower income, immigrants, and members of long-standing minority groups. For example, Australia and Canada have large numbers of migrants. Australia has the highest at 28%, Canada at 21%, and that is much higher than in the United States. Also, Australia has made an effort to help their Aboriginal tribe with their education program to help them to succeed. On this slide, we are just looking at the relationship of student performance and equity. If you look at the areas that we are studying, Canada, Singapore, Australia, and Finland, these areas fall into the upper right-hand quadrant. It shows a high level of equity and performance. The source that I quoted is from the OECD program 2013A, and permission was granted to publish it in the book that we are studying. Okay, what we found: each country and province are different in terms of culture, history, and content of education. Many similarities were found in approach to policies and support of quality teaching. The key goal amongst jurisdictions is to invest in knowledge practitioners who can make sound decisions about how to shape education for the specific clients they serve. This was quoted by Darling Hammond in 2009, page 46. The following items were common amongst the jurisdictions: a high social regard for teaching, compensation, selectivity into the profession, hiring policies and teacher training, financial support for preparation and professional learning. And again, we bring that back to compensation. The first point is there are financial support not only for income in the form of for teachers to earn high salaries. There are also grants provided to help in the preparation and professional learning of teachers and students. Professional standards that outline teaching, that is the preparation, professional licensure, and professional development. There are highly professional standards for those. Preparation and induction grounded in well-defined curriculum, content, and well-supported clinical training. The clinical supervision is in some countries included in the initial teacher education. Point number 6 is teacher as research informed and research engaged profession. Candidates leadership grants used for research and to become researchers. Now, I just wanted to talk about that. There is not, Canada is one of the countries that we're looking at, is one of our jurisdictions, and the leadership grants are given so that they can do research, become researchers, and train new people or train other people and those people. So it's a continuous program, and there's grants that helps so that they so that this continuous program can continue. 7 is teaching as a collaborative and not isolated. Teaching as a collaborative and not isolated occupation. It is a team sport. And that's something that I found at the previous school that I taught, is that because I was an art teacher, I was not always part of the team. And that was really troublesome, and one didn't feel, and it was not only me, but we were our whole fine arts team felt isolated, and whereas these countries are really focusing on collaboration and being a team, and they see the value of art. My previous principal, or one of my principals before, was Dr. Heather McMahon. She had the opportunity to go to China, and she came back and told us how important the fine arts was in Chinese, in the Chinese culture and the Chinese education system. That was the main thing that they did first. Teacher development as a continuum. It is always continuous. Opportunities for leadership. Shanghai has a senior. Shanghai has that opportunities for leadership, like you come in as a teacher, you become a senior teacher, a master, and then become a mentor, and that continuous circle. Systems organized to support quality teachers and equity. There is curriculum guidance, a roadmap, and I added a roadmap. It's not a straitjacket. They feel that the curriculum guidance is just almost like the skeleton part, and the roadmap. It is, you have to put everything around the skeleton, and it's not a fixed part. It can change. Everybody has their own. And actually, I wrote a book about Art Your Future, where I talk about the mind map. And these systems are from these countries are organized to support quality teachers and equity. They help. They see it as that a mind map that you build on to every day. Okay, and then developing both teacher quality and teaching quality. I want to focus on teacher quality, and the difference, and the other word says teaching quality. So it's teacher and teaching. The teacher quality includes the person, the strong content knowledge, implementing productive teaching practices and pedagogy, the insight in your own part that you're teaching, like history, For me, it was art. Understanding the learners and their development. The teachers understand that some students learn in different ways. Some people have health issues that you must work with, and also some students and that's why we differentiate in lessons. It's the development might be on a lower developmental level in reading. General ability to organize and explain. The teacher must be able to organize the data very well, organize the learning material very well, and explain well. Policymakers, and then there's the last point in this section from teacher equality, is policymakers, parents and educators might also include learning for all students, learning or teaching in an unbiased manner. The principal's child is not the only student in the class. Adaptive instruction, continuous improvement, collaboration with parents and professional, and that's very important, to collaborate with parents and professionals. Then about teaching quality, it is in part a function of teacher quality, but it is also strongly influenced by the content of instruction. Okay, now finally, questions to ponder. You just arrived in China. You cannot speak Chinese, and I'm sorry, the E is missing on my slide, Chinese, and must explain to the taxi driver your destination. Taxi driver cannot speak English. How will you solve that problem? My second question to ponder is and I want to give a little bit information in this question. Your family just arrived in America and your children are 3 and 6 years old. Your 6-year-old is in a school system, went through Head Start, just started speaking the American way of speaking English, very excited about his friends, and now he heard about a contest that he can draw a picture. He's very excited about it. He comes home, he tells his 3-year-old sister they must enter. They entered the drawing contest for children. They did a great job. And then their mom took them to the fast food where all the competition pictures or drawings had to be turned in. When they entered, they heard that only US citizens may participate. How will you as a parent explain it to them that their picture is not welcome in a fast food in a wonderful country like the USA? Then the third question to ponder on is, how can you retain great teachers if the pay is so much lower than other careers? And my last question to ponder is, what are the most effective programs for students that have to stay after school? And in this one, we must think about students that have been in school the whole day. They see their friends go home. Is it really the best to keep them at that school where they just have to stay in a line, where they must interact with the same students again? Or will it be better to take them to a new area and have wonderful programs like in Russia, have an art school after the private or public school hours? It was a joy for me to present to you today, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.